Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Rock River Valley Traction Company. In today's video we're going to talk about some of the non-powered equipment that is out here at the RRVT. Starting out, we will look at the flat cars. I've got quite a few of these, quite a few meaning I think there's about 8 of these out here. So these little guys were originally for a brick manufacturing company in Indiana. It was a coal-fired brick manufacturer that shut down, and they had a bunch of these little carts that they were trying to get rid of. I bought 30 of them, and I think I kept around 10 of them. There's maybe 7 or 8 that are in service. In this view right now you can see 3 of them and potentially a 4th one here. That was originally a brick cart that's been modified. We'll talk about that in a minute. But these little carts are great. They were already 2-foot gauge, and I bought 30 of them with the intent of utilizing the axles. So I kept 10 of the frames and scrapped the rest of the frames just so I could harvest the wheels and axles out of them, because those are so hard to come by. So that load that I got was absolutely worth its weight in gold. Has allowed me to build the steeple cab and some of these other cars out here because I finally had some wheels to use. So anyway, these are just a very light angle iron frame car, not much to them. They do have these cast bearing boxes with I think they're like 1/2-inch dowel pins in there for bearings. Pretty neat. You oil them through this little hole right here. So here's an empty one. Here's a couple more over here. This one is loaded with brand new dies, and another one over there loaded with some miscellaneous material. And this is the welder car. So this I modified brick cart. It has a brick cart frame, but as you can see on the original brick cart, the part that holds the bearing is welded right to the frame. And the issue with that is that it makes these cars prone to derail if the car is not flexible. So with this particular one being a light duty frame, it's really not an issue, because that car can twist when the track isn't quite flat. But being this car, I wanted to put some sideboards on it to hold materials. I knew that was going to stiffen it up, so I just basically took and chopped off the part here that holds the bearing, and I put some round stock in a pipe, and you can see, let me try to push on this so you can see how that suspension works. So this car, in essence, absolutely never derails. This little modification works really great, and it wasn't that hard to do, so I might do it to some other ones. Anyways, so this car, this is the welder. Go ahead, laugh. This thing is probably from the 50s. I don't know, it still works great. But anyways, here's the ground clamp. So we clamp this one to the rail. This is your welding ground right here. And then you take this stinger right here and put it up on the overhead, so we get AC power to run the welder. And here's the electrode lead. All right, so that's how we weld all the rail out here. And then I also utilize this car to store all my looks like a bunch of junk, but actually this stuff is what keeps this thing running out here. Is all my joint bars and pieces for building frogs and things like that. There's some junk on here too, but yeah, that's the welder car. It's what we use to maintain all of our track out here because everything is welded. All right, so let's go take a quick look in here. I don't know if this is going to show up, this hopper. Now this hopper, you can see in some of the older videos, it hasn't been used for quite some time. This was actually the very first freight car that I built when I started coming out here in the late 90s, or I think I built this car maybe about 98, 99, somewhere in there. It's kind of hard to see. I couldn't get it out because the groundhogs have filled the rail with dirt as they're digging their little burrows. And so the thing is, the rail's completely covered with dirt. It's going to take me some time to get it out. But in any case, this thing has air-operated dump doors. Oh, geez. There we go. So here's the control panel. This is to open and close the doors. There's 3 separate doors on there. And then this used to interface with the work car, and I could control the direction and the speed of the work car. So it was basically one-man ballast distribution. And that's what we use this car for, is for spreading ballast. And here's the air cylinder for one of the doors, and there's the other air cylinder, and here's the other one. So we can choose to dump, you know, left side of the track, right side of the track, or center of the track, wherever we need the rock at. So that car, once I get some rock out here, it'll become a priority to get this thing out and get it going again. All right. So now we look at the other 2 dump cars that are out here. These were built from 500-gallon fuel tank, then it cut in half and made 2 hopper cars out of it. So this car has doors that open to the outside. So I use this for dumping riprap or dirt when I'm building a new road bed, trying to build up the outside. And you know, nothing high tech about this. You just pull this pin out, door flies open, dumps out. You can see it dumps to the outside of the track. This car is the second one that I built, utilizing the other half of the fuel tank, and it is a double truck car, which eventually I would like to modify that one into a double truck as well. So long-term plans. But this one, I know I made another video about adding the motors onto this car, so you can watch that video and see how it works. But basically, this one just has 2 center doors, and they open this way. So it's more for dumping material inside the track. All right. So that's the 2 dump cars. Now we'll take a quick look at the weed spray car. Barn here. And I've got another video about the weed spray car coming up. So I'll just show it to you real quick, because there, like I said, there's a whole nother video about it. But this car just has this plastic tank. It's a single axle car, and then it's got a spray boom right here with the nozzles on it for spraying the track. And here's the work car. I did have this out a couple weeks ago and ran it. Still runs good. And now we'll look at the gondola car. This one I built maybe about 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. It was around the time of the steeple cab, so it had to be maybe 2021. I don't know. In any case, this car is made from a shipping crate. This nice welded tube frame here came in to the place where I work. It was holding some large materials, and it had a couple of skid mounts on the bottom, which I've cut off, you know, so you drive it around with a fork truck. It's a little narrower than what I would like. I think it's like 3.5 feet, and usually I make everything 4 feet, but you know, it was already made and it was going to get scrapped, so it just sort of worked out perfect that I had this available to make a car out of. So this car, obviously, I used to haul all my tools. I just cleaned it out today. So the tools have been taken out of there, but it's, you know, got my toolboxes here, and, you know, all my bolts and spikes and track bolts and everything go in those. Those double as seats. So when visitors come out here, they can take a ride, you know, have a place to sit. I've got mounts on the side for my ladders, the freestanding ladder, and then this is my pole ladder that I lay up against the poles when I'm doing overhead maintenance. And as you can see, this is a double truck car with wheels from what was originally brick carts. Now we look at the original welder car. This was in service for many, many years. Served us well, but its time had come to be retired. So it's got a steel frame. It utilizes actually brake drums for wheels. And the flanges were made with rebar wrapped around there and welded. Very creative. But the bearings started to go out, and you know, it just wasn't worth fixing once I had those brick carts in my possession. So this one's been retired, and it sits over here on the creek track, just sort of rotting away. It's, you know, not worth fixing. I don't need it really for anything. So it's just a display piece at this point. Good history. Brings us to our next spot where we have some cars stored at. Here we have another brick cart. This one's being used to hold this very heavy diamond, which someday I hope to have a place to put. I've got an idea where it might go. And then we have this very interesting car. So this was made out of two standard gauge maintenance away little carts that were used behind tampers. You can see one right here, and the end of it is right here. And these little wheels were on them, but only on one end. I think the other end, so this was turned sideways, and that would make the wheels about standard gauge when put on the other way. And the end with no wheels was attached to the maintenance away equipment. I don't remember if it was a tamper or some other little flat car or whatever, but I acquired 3 of these and made a couple different cars out of them. So these had these little tiny wheels. This one, as you can see, is extra long. This is the original pole hauling car. Also used it for carrying longer pieces of rail and whatnot. Because it was so long, I had to make some suspension. So what it's got, this is my handiwork from long ago. But anyway, you can see this kind of teeters like that, and so that allows the wheels to flex as the track is uneven. And it works just fine. It's just a little weird design. It was made to sit up higher than the rest of the cars, so that way when we put poles on it, you're not bending down so far to the ground. A little easier on the back that way. So this thing just kind of sits here collecting dust and rust at this point. I really have no need for this car anymore. So it just keeps some materials up off the ground that I keep out here at this end of the line, and mainly for derailments or whatever I might need longer timbers for. And here we are at the next piece of equipment. This is a crane car. This car here I got from a guy in Wisconsin. Made this thing. It originally, when I got it, had a roof. So there was some pieces that came up. It had a nice rounded roof. It had a little smokestack on it. It was pretty cool looking. Unfortunately, it was too high to fit under my catenary. When I acquired the car, it was too high to fit under the catenary. I've since raised the catenary. It probably would have been fine now. But in any case, so this thing has this arm, and you can turn this wheel. You can see it moving the arm. It's locked right now. I got it locked down. But I really wanted to use this car. It would be quite handy. I wanted to put a pulley out there on the end of the arm, get a winch. It's got a nice counterweight here on the back. This gearbox that operates this arm is ungodly heavy. This car as a whole is very heavy. It's got a really heavy frame on it. Got nice big wheels. Problem with it is the center turret in here is frozen. So the car does not swivel. And I have tried porta powers and jacks and whatnot trying to get it to free up. And bottom line is it needs to be disassembled and rebuilt from that point, and it's just not something I've made a priority, basically, is what it boils down to. But you can see this is quite the contraption, how this was all welded together here. It's a really neat car. I mean, this has tie plates for part of the frame. It's got, so one axle, the back axle here is a fixed axle, and you can see there was some chains and whatnot. I think at one point this was driven or was meant to be a powered device. When I acquired it, there was no motor or anything on it. But then the front axle has this pivot right here. So this front axle does pivot side to side, which is different. Pretty cool. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with this car ultimately. I might just keep the bottom and rebuild everything from, the pivot point here. You can kind of see. So I think originally the idea was he was going to put a motor to drive this to pivot, which would be really neat to have, but a lot of work required to make this car what I want it to be, and there's just too many other projects. material yard where we will talk about the final batch of cars. So here we have another brick cart. This one I put a couple of channel iron holders on it so we can overload the car, haul more stuff. Here is the very first flat car that I put together years ago. Again, this is one of those maintenance away carriages with the small wheels that we just turned the other way and put the wheels on the opposite way. And right now it's hauling some blocks to be used for a future project. And here we have two more brick carts being used for holding more ties. And this longer car I built maybe 2021, 22, somewhere in there. This is the new pole hauling car, and it has all these pins on the side that are removable, so we can pull all those out and just roll the poles off or on. I've got this rack over here that I put up, and I can just pull the car right up beside the rack and roll the poles off and onto this car. So very helpful, makes it so easy to move poles around. This car is a double truck car, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's all steel, C-channel frame, pretty basic. One thing that I do try to do on this equipment that I build is I put a wooden isolator between the grounded part of the truck and the rest of the car, if it's a steel car. So in this case we have a 4x4, and that way if the catenary is down and it contacts this, it doesn't short out the line. And finally, we have another brick cart over here. This one is kind of out of service, so this one happened to be sitting in a place where a tree came down and it bent the frame right here, so this one needs a little bit of repair, but it's a good view of the underside of how the brick carts are constructed. And as you can see, they have a bit of rot. They all have this. I'm assuming it's from being run inside the furnaces, and probably the bricks and the coal ash and whatnot were caustic. And then here's a few more brick cart frames piled up, being used to hold materials off the ground. So those are kind of my backup frames in case I ever decide I want more flat cars for whatever reason. So yeah, that is all of the non-powered equipment that we use out here for moving materials around, hauling rock, spraying weeds, everything you need to maintain and build the railroad. All very helpful and necessary equipment to have out here. Got some plans for some other equipment that I'd really like to build at some point, so as time allows, maybe we'll have some more things out here. No spoilers on what that might be, but yeah, everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It is fall out here now. As you can see, the leaves are coming down. Things are changing. Season is just about over for us here. Winter will be upon us soon. thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.